1 star. He kept asking me what's behind the walls down there. I'm like, why? What do you know?
No matter how hard you work for your small business, online reviewers will find something to complain about.
And then he's like, you can trust me with the job. And I'm all like, trust?
And while Progressive can't save you from these trolls, we can help you save money on commercial, auto, and business insurance.
Yeah, he charged me less than he said he would, which is lying.
Get a quote online today at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliated and third-party insurers.
Morning.
How'd you get in my house, B?
Through the air conditioning vent. It's dark in there.
Go away.
How about some Honey Nut Cheerios?
Cheerios. Do I look like a child to you?
Honey Nut Cheerios are tasty and can help lower cholesterol as part of a heart-healthy diet. Did you just
No.
I'm pretty sure I heard a
It was my dryer.
You might want to get that thing checked out.
Have a change of heart. Honey Nut Cheerios. Learn more about Honey Nut Cheerios by picking up a box at your local store.
For your Gulf Coast Sports Minute, I'm JP. Escambia and Santa Rosa County have decided that practices will start on September 7th, and games will begin on September 18th. The schools will play 8 games, and due to the changes this year, there will be no districts, and the state will put the teams in classifications after September 18th once they find out who has opted in to play. Each team who decides to play will be in the playoffs, as the seeds for the playoffs will be determined by a blind draw, and home field will be awarded by a coin flip. In our recruiting spotlight this week, Brendan Smith for the Escambia Gators. Smith was an all-state selection after the Gators' state runner-up performance last year, but wasn't satisfied as he picked up a new diet and lost 40 pounds. He took his 40 time from a 5.6 to a 5.0 flat. Pretty impressive to say the least. With 5 offers now from Bryant, Gardner-Webb, Jackson State, Missouri State, and Stetson, you can bet that there will be plenty more to come his way. But if you ask Brennan, he's not worried about it and is staying patient and working hard and ready to see if he and his teammates can take home the state title this year. That's your Gulf Coast Sports Minute. I'm JP.
The teams, the games, the fans, the local talk. This is ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM 99.1 FM.
Jeff Leonte here, the Sports Drive. Today's Believe to Achieve moment. We look at Tate High School, Molino's own Don Sutton. Before being a broadcaster for the Atlanta Braves, or 23 years as a pitcher in the Bigs with 324 wins. Don grew up in Molino, just wanting to play ball, as he talked about in his Hall of Fame speech.
My first glove, and it was great that I could bump into him here, was a George Kell 3-finger model that my dad traded a Red Ryder Daisy air rifle for. The first baseball I ever had was a fishing cork wrapped in twine and covered with friction tape. The first bat I had was an Al Rosen model. It had more nails in it than a lot of houses in the area, but I was playing baseball. And it didn't matter to me if I was throwing against the chimney or against the garage or throwing against the barn, I was playing baseball. If you're going into baseball, there are going to be a lot of people better than you. Don't ever let anybody outwork you. And I didn't.
Now that's a speech here in the South that I think a lot of old-time baseball players can relate to. Thanks, Don.
I'm Troy Rafferty, and many of you know about my love for sports and my longtime support for our local high school athletes. One thing these fine young people have taught me over the years is this: whether it's on the ball field, in the classroom, or in a court of law, always work your hardest and achieve the best results possible. And that is the commitment we make to our clients and our community.
Levin Papantonio in Pensacola since 1955.
Hi, I'm Matt Kenseth. You don't have to be a race car driver to know that life can be full of drama. Some of it you can't control, like mechanical issues, high winds, and rain delays. But there's some drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org.
You just need to take that first step and find free classes near you and leave the drama for the racetrack.
Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ed Council.
Hear ye, hear ye. I bringeth thee a message from... a message from the king and his new trumpeter, Stephen. The king wishes me to convey his favour to thine team and thine tailgate. Not yet. He invites thee to let the Bud Light flow forth. And he also wishes me to tell thee that he toasts thee. Waiteth until the end, Stephen! With game day's favourite light lager and the slogan of his kingdom... Oh! Dilly dilly!
Enjoy responsibly. Bud Light Beer, AB, St. Louis, Missouri. This is ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM 99.1 FM. Pensacola's home for hometown sports. Your home to talk football with Coach K. Sports Drive with Chad Brillante and Sports Call with Davis Allen. If you'd like to partner with ESPN Pensacola or become a sponsor, just give us a call at 262-6000.
You're listening to ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM 99.1 FM. All sports, all the time. WEBY, Milton, Pensacola.
The following has been produced by Talk Football LLC. Former Florida Gators quarterback, NFL quarterback, and NFL head coach. Coach K. Stevenson has a resume second to none, and now he's sharing his insider information with you. Talk Football with Coach K starts right now on ESPN Pensacola.
Welcome in to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach K. Stevenson on this Tuesday afternoon. Hopefully you're doing well, staying safe out there, obviously, with everything going on with COVID-19. We're seeing cases seem to drop a little bit, but please continue to social distance, wash your hands, throw a mask on if you're going to go in and out of places or be around other people, and make sure, understand that is not a political statement. That is just me throwing it out there because I want to see us beat this and get some normalcy back. That would be awesome right now. But hey, look, we're the Seams of Football. We're going to get it back right now. Before we get to that, as we always start off our show, we'll continue to do so. I want to thank our first responders and healthcare workers. What's going on right now? I think we know why, but these folks are out there on the front lines each and every day. So they deserve some thanks, to say the very least. Obviously, nobody wants you to shake hands now, and so we can't go up and shake their hand or things like that. So you know what? A kind word goes a long way. And these folks, look, I know we have a lot of things going on in our country, and I say this every day, and I think it's important to reiterate my feelings on this and for people to understand that we live in such a blessed community to have so many great first responders and healthcare workers, from police officers to firefighters, EMT personnel, nurses, doctors, all above and beyond right there. All those folks out there, we thank them so much. And if you're one of those, I know a couple of them said they listen every day. Well, thank you guys. Hopefully we can bring you some football news and get your mind off whatever's going on. But regardless, while we're thanking folks, look, we do want to thank grocery store employees, truck drivers, all the essential workers out there. These folks, we couldn't do it without you. You're a vital part as well. Look, once again, if you're going into the grocery stores or going into a business and there's arrows going around, it may aggravate you a little bit, but please just follow it. It may take you a couple more minutes to do what you got to do, but these precautions are in place for all of us. So just do it. All right, suck it up and do it. If that's the worst thing you got going on, you're living a pretty good life. But hey, look, we thank all those folks, by the way, and we thank, the listeners out there for you guys tuning in again. And once again, we have a ton to get to today. But first things first, Coach, how are you doing today, my friend?
Doing well. Good to be with you, JP. And my thanks as well to all of those people you just talked about. So, and our sponsors, as well as, again, those people that are our audience. They listen in, so we appreciate that.
Absolutely. And 9 days until college football, Coach. So with South Alabama and Southern Miss kicking off right there. Look, it's going to be we're getting closer and closer. I know Alabama is already doing high school football, which, look, that will lead me into my next thing here in just a second. But before I do, 850-623-1330 is the number. Look, you can call or text that line. Obviously, if you're driving, please be careful. We don't advise that. But if you're at work or sitting around the house, maybe in the garage doing something on a rainy day like today, look, shoot us a text, give us a call. Maybe it's something you want to talk about. Maybe it's your team you want to talk about. Maybe it's an issue you disagree with. Whatever it is, we want to hear from you out there. 850-623-1330 is the number. Call or text that line. Coach, talking about obviously jumping into this in high school football, I will throw this out there real quick. Spanish Fort and St. Paul's. Now, obviously, these are two teams, Spanish Fort and St. Paul's over there toward the Mobile area. They will be on ESPN Friday in a game. Like I said, it's going to be at 6 o'clock. So typically the game starts at 7, but because they're on ESPN, there you go. 6 o'clock, you'll have some high school football on. I'm going to tell you right now, I will watch any kind of football. I don't care what it is, but the fact that you get to see two pretty good teams from our neighbor over there to the west in Mobile, Spanish Fort and St. Paul's. They've produced a lot of SEC talent, a lot of Division I talent, a lot of guys that have gone on to play in the NFL. So when you look at this, Coach, this is going to be a good game, but it's awesome that, look, we've got some football on Friday night, and it's even better that it's one of our teams right down the road.
Yeah, you're right, and I look forward to it as you do, and many others. You're right, St. Paul's and Spanish Fort, two outstanding high school programs. They're well organized, well coached, and they've got some good players. So it'll be a treat to see that ball game.
Yeah, absolutely. And after Spanish Fort got upset last week by Fairhope, look, anytime if you've ever been to a game at Spanish Fort on the Hill, it is going to be wild. I know that they're going to have to practice social distancing, but the game itself will be very, very intriguing right there. St. Paul's and Spanish Fort on ESPN Friday night at 6 o'clock. You're not going to want to miss it. Moving on here, Coach, some college football news. Oh, look, we were wondering what was going to happen because Trayvon Grimes and Zachary Carter, obviously the wide receiver and big defensive end there for Florida, had already opted in and said, look, we're going to play. Kadarius Toney and Jacob Copeland were two guys we weren't sure if they were going to play. It seems they were on the fence. They set out some practices last week. And now we know they have opted in to play. So Kadarius Toney, the wide receiver there, well, utility man is what I'll call him, and Jacob Copeland, right here from Escambia High School, the Gators. We, getting to be able to watch him, how talented he is. They are opting in. So, Coach, it seems right now the Gators are at full strength. Everybody's at practice. They're rolling right along here. Look, I think it's a great move. Obviously, it's like Dan Mullen and Kyle Trask are excited, but I think it was the right move for these guys, especially. They needed some solid film. Kadarius Toney's been a little inconsistent, and Jacob Copeland hasn't gotten the opportunity to play with all the talent they've had at the wide receiver position. So I think this was a great decision for everybody's part.
Oh, I agree totally. I think it was an outstanding decision on the part of the players. I mean, how many chances do you have to play Division I college football? How many? You can really break it down into minutes. The very few minutes in your life that you're going to have that opportunity. And, gosh, to let it just go by is drastic. Now, if there's actual reason to do so, existing injuries, existing illness or some other pertinent reasons for opting out, we certainly understand that. But if there's any way possible, gosh, you want to take advantage of that. That's a wonderful, wonderful opportunity.
Absolutely. And, Zachary Carter, it's hit him close to home, losing one of their close family friends right there. And I believe his father had it and battled with it in the hospital for about a month. So, he said he wants to play for all the COVID victims out there. Got a little chip on his shoulder. But, hey, you know what? You root for guys like that. It's unfortunate because, you know what? The virus is real. It has affected a lot of people. And you see that young man, and he even came out and said he feels so safe on campus right there with the protection, with all the medical personnel, with the testing they're doing, and I think that's awesome. And, Coach, I do want to mention this. I want to get to the AP poll next, but I do want to throw this out there as well. Look, the NFL had released the results from August 12th to August 20th. They had over 58,000 tests. 58,000 tests. So this was obviously personnel and players, Tier 1 and Tier 2 personnel and players here. When you look at this, Coach, obviously over 8,500 players were tested. I believe it was 32,000 tests. These are rough numbers, obviously, not exact numbers, but I'm pretty close on this. But 0 players tested positive out of 32,000 tests. Only 6 personnel tested positive. I believe that was like 25,000 or whatever it was tests. Coach, when you look at this, 58,000 tests the NFL had. And only 6 were positive, regardless of whether it was players, personnel, only 6 were positive. That is obviously lower than 0.5% right there. That's numbers that I'm not going to get back into. I'll have to get somebody into some pretty serious math. But, Coach, that is awesome. I think this is something that, look, remember these guys aren't necessarily in what you call a bubble. They're going out and about, but they do understand what they have to do. And so far, so good for the NFL right now. I think this is great news.
Yeah, with great stats and no players, which everybody thought, oh my gosh, they're going to be in this is physical contact, and head to head and all that. There's no way they're gonna get past this without having the virus. no players. And the personnel, there are any number of things that and violations of protocol that could have been in place when you consider all the personnel. I know what they're talking about. You're talking about all the groundskeepers. You're talking about the maintenance people. You're talking about any number of course, front office people and so on. But I don't think there's any way that they would be in adherence to the strict protocols that the players would be. That's just my opinion. But anyway, great stats. That's good for people to know.
Yeah, absolutely. And, rolling right along here, Coach, some more college football news. Obviously, didn't get to it yesterday, but the AP poll came out. Top 25. Now, this is, what it is. I will personally say this, and not that it matters. I don't like that they put all the teams in it, but after week 1, they're going to remove the teams that aren't playing in the Big Ten and the Pac-12 and stuff. But regardless, I think it's kind of pointless to put it in here. I laugh at it, but you know what? That's just me. Number 1 in the AP poll, well, the top 3, really. No surprise. Clemson, number 1 with 38 first-place votes. Ohio State, number 2, 21 first-place votes. If anything, that is just heartbreaking to Ohio State fans. And Alabama, number 3 right there with 2 first-place votes. And by the way, Oklahoma got 2 first-place votes, coming in at number 5. Georgia was number 4. LSU, Coach, got 1 first-place vote, number 6. Penn State was 7. Florida was 8. Oregon, 9. 10 was Notre Dame, and then a couple more SEC teams down the road here. Auburn, number 11. Texas A&M, 13. Look, when you look at this, Coach, Tennessee just squeaked in the top 25 at 25. Look, no Florida State yet. They're on the outside. They're receiving votes, but obviously no surprise that Florida State didn't make the top 25 yet. But, Coach, when you hear this, first off, I want to ask you real quick is, does it bother you that they put all the teams in here? Does it make sense since they're not playing? Do you have a problem with it? And any team, when you look at this, that's maybe ranked a little too high or a little too low?
Well, there are a number of things that I would consider having looked at that polling. First, it's no big deal right now as long as they remove the teams that aren't playing after the first week. That's okay. I certainly think Clemson should be number 1. I really think Alabama should be number 2, regardless of whether Ohio State was playing or not. Maybe Ohio State 3rd. The problems I have, how do you put teams that high? And I have to ask this question. If people out there that are listening in have an answer to this or feel strongly about it, please call in and let us know. I have a problem putting teams that high, and I'm talking specifically Georgia and LSU. How could you lose 16 starters, including your quarterback, like LSU? Quarterback who just set the all-time record for quarterbacks in college football in the history of the sport. 16 overall, you've got to replace. You've got to put different people out on the field. And you're still rated that high. Now, granted, I know that they recruit well. They've got good players, got good depth, and they're loaded with talent. But, my friend, if that is the case, my goodness, I've lost completely on how you go about putting these people in that position from a preseason poll. And Georgia lost not only the bulk of their offensive line, but they lost a quarterback. For 3 years has led them to an outstanding record, has put 2 other supposed outstanding quarterbacks on the road, and you've lost him. You're bringing in people who are transferring in. There's no way you can have the continuity and the knowledge of your offense that you have had in the past. I just don't see Georgia or LSU being rated there. I think Florida should go ahead of both of them, and that's not a prejudicial statement because I went to Florida. I just think Florida has a chance to retake the East. And I think if you look at their overall team situation, they have an outstanding quarterback. They have a football team that had momentum from last year. They have a coaching staff that's been in place for quite a while. Not only offensively have they been very productive, but I think their defensive staff has been outstanding. And you've got a pretty doggone good situation there in Florida. I would think better than LSU would have, or that Georgia would have. Now I know as a coach, if I had my choice, I'd say you can take Florida, LSU, or Georgia. Which one do you want? I'd take Florida. But anyway, that's me. That's the biggest problem I would have. I think these others they're going to shift out. They're going to shift around pretty good during the year. I think it's going to be an interesting year, especially all in conference play.
Yeah, I think with Georgia, everybody that I talk to, and talking with Brent Baird, who covers, he's with College Football News, and he writes a lot for, obviously works for Jacksonville over there on 1010 XL Radio too. He even said, look, it just seems that Georgia, everybody believes that because of the way Georgia recruits, that they're going to be right back in it. But that's where a lot of people are like, well, look at Florida. We know what Florida has. We know what they've got coming back. You got a guy in Kyle Trask, and when Dan Mullen was brought in, it was a question of how long is this going to take him to get this offense? Because once this offense gets rolling, then this team is going to be the contender, because the defense has been good. The defense bailed the offense out for many years. And look, the offensive line is getting in order now. Obviously, now we have a quarterback, a true quarterback that you feel comfortable with as a Florida fan, since probably like a Tim Tebow type guy. A guy that look, when we roll up here, this is our guy. Win, lose, or draw, this is who we're rolling with. We know what his talent level is. And I still question. I don't think people understand his talent level, because you got to see him a little bit, but now he has had a full offseason. He is the man. This is the first time he's been the man, by the way, for probably since middle school, because even in high school, remember, he was a backup to De'Aaron King, who's now the quarterback. He was at Houston, now he's at Miami. So this guy's got the reins, and this is going to be interesting. I agree with you, Coach. I love what Florida has coming back. Obviously, with Georgia, I think everybody is on the Jamie Newman train. We'll see what happens. That offense is going to be a little skeptical. The defense is going to be good. We know that. But, you're replacing 4 of your 5 starting offensive linemen for Georgia in the SEC. It's going to be tough. So, hey, it is what it is. I'll agree with you on LSU as well. I think it goes without saying, losing that many guys. They'll be good. Don't make no mistake about it. That's going to be a good football team, but maybe a little too ranked high, a little high ranking there. Oklahoma, I think that is a wild card. I don't think they need to be number 5, but I get it because it's the Big 12 and it is what it is. So, look, we got to go to a quick break, though. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about, obviously, some quarterback rooms here. A poll had come out ranking college football's best quarterbacks, the ones who are playing now, obviously. We'll talk a little bit about that. And, by the way, the College Football Playoff Committee, for those out there that are interested, will release its first weekly rankings November 17th. So you're going to have to wait till November 17th for this college football playoff rankings. We'll talk about all that more when we come back right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck Bentley, that was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
Sometimes your bank, your family, and your friends love you, but they don't have the money to help you. Sometimes we have chances to make money, but the old saying, you've got to have money to make money, rings true. At Pensacola Specialty Pond, we can help. If you have trucks, heavy equipment, airplanes, boats, jet skis, anything with value, Pensacola Specialty Pond can loan you that short-term money you need. No credit checks, and at Pensacola Specialty Pond, you're going to find the money and the discretion you need.
Now at 6428 Pensacola Boulevard, north of Car City. Call 432-9050, 432-9050.
This Thursday at 5:30, tune into the Sports Drive with me, Chad Brillante, when we tee it up with PGA and head pro at Osceola Golf Course, Adrian Stills, for his inside scoop on local golf events and some entertaining stories around the links. Adrian has represented Pensacola at the highest levels of the PGA Tour and is proud to call Pensacola his home. And now he's giving you the inside scoop Thursday at 5:30, right here on the Sports Drive on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
JP here. Everyone here at ESPN Pensacola wants to send a shout out to our first responders and healthcare workers at this time. We know it's tough, but we appreciate the work you put day in and day out. We also want to thank our essential workers out there for helping all of us continue to live our lives as normal as possible in this time. For our community, keep rocking it. We are going to get through this. Remember, we were named the #1 strong town in America. That wasn't by accident. We have seen so many people step up and do their part, and we thank all those people for their efforts. We will be stronger for this, and together, we will beat COVID-19.
Hey, this is Jay Williams. You're listening to Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Welcome back to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach Kay Stevenson on this Tuesday afternoon. Hope you're doing well. Appreciate you joining the show with us. Second segment here, Coach. Going to jump into this. Obviously, we have a ton to get to. By the way, in a few minutes, we're going to break down the NFC West. We talked about the AFC West yesterday. We're going to work our way through the NFL because September 10th, it's our first game. Get the Kansas City Chiefs and the Houston Texans. Going to get you ready for that. So, Coach, when we talk about quarterbacks, obviously with there's lists that have everybody. I'm just going to talk about the guys we are going to see this fall. I'm not going to mention obviously guys like Justin Fields, but some of this won't change. When you look at this, Coach, in the poll here for 247 Sports, now Clemson's #1 with Trevor Lawrence, even the depth they have, by the way. Yeah, DJ Uiagalelei, he is a fantastic freshman coming in, the highly touted 5-star. Look, we obviously believe this is going to be Trevor Lawrence's last year. I get it. The young man has done just about everything you can imagine. He's going to be, seems to be a great NFL quarterback. We've talked about him a lot. Coach, when you look at it, though, look, one is Clemson, and then two right here is Alabama. Now, I'm going to ask you, with Mac Jones, Bryce Young, Paul Tyson, by the way, Brent Baird, yesterday we were talking about it on 1010 XL Radio for Jacksonville there. He was raving about Paul Tyson in practice, saying everybody that is talking about this young man has the strongest arm out of anybody in that quarterback room and just looks the part. And you know what? It's going to be interesting because he's just a redshirt freshman. Get another year of eligibility. Paul Tyson, I know Bryce Young is there, but Paul Tyson could be a name that we could be talking about before long. But, Coach, when you look at the quarterbacks here, now obviously the depth and everything, would you put Clemson 1 or Alabama 1?
I think you've got to put Clemson 1 just because of the presence of the big guy there. I mean, there's no doubt about it. He's going to be one of a kind when he comes out. I think he's going to be a great pro. But right now, he is just once in a million. One time in a million do you get a guy like that as a college quarterback. So you got to put Clemson #1. They got Alabama a close second. And I've said 2 or 3 times on this show, maybe giving you a little insight from some of the scouting word that I get through QT information or what people are thinking, if you will. It's not really, they don't put it out there in the papers or whatever. But I have heard from some very reliable sources that Tyson, Bear Bryant's grandson, and there at Alabama, and I think I've said this 2 or 3 times on air, has he has an unbelievable arm. He's got great talent, and maybe the best quarterback on the Alabama campus. Maybe, and these are people who know how to value a quarterback and put a number on them as to where you would draft them and where you might play them in the National Football League. So let me tell you, keep your eye on this kid because, and I don't think Saban misses too much. So it may not be this year. I think they got a good guy in Jones. I like him. I think he was very productive when they had to put him in last year. So I think certainly they're in good shape this year. Gives Tyson another year to mature, which again Saban likes. So keep your eye on him. He could be a big time quarterback there at Alabama.
Yeah, Coach, that's one thing. When Brent said that yesterday, I remember how many times you've mentioned that. And he's a guy that's gone under the radar, but he may not be under the radar after this year. We'll see what happens. And look, everybody likes Bryce Young, but Paul Tyson, when you talk about fitting that system, he is a fantastic quarterback. And regardless, that young man can play some football. There's a reason. You don't go to Alabama. Alabama doesn't just pick guys up for no reason, just because. And I know that he's Bear Bryant's grandson and everything, but that young man, watch his film. His film is impressive, and you see why he is on that campus right now. So, Coach, when we look at this real quick, obviously, 3 is Texas with Sam Ehlinger in that squad, 4 is Georgia, and 5 is Florida. Now, here, look, Sam Ehlinger is a guy, Coach, it seems like he's been around forever, by the way, but you know what? He is now a senior for Texas, and obviously Texas being in the Big 12, they're going to play this year. Reading what I read on, with scouts, they're very skeptical because he can be very turnover prone really quickly in games. He can force the issue sometimes. When you look at this, though, Coach, like I said, 3, 4, and 5 is Texas, Georgia, and Florida. Now, when you know that, obviously there is a lot of hype with a guy like Jamie Newman. I think personally JT Daniels is a guy to look out for. That is a very talented quarterback room, though. Talking about JT Daniels, Jamie Newman, Stetson Bennett, Dwan Mathis, Carson Beck, all those guys. But, Coach, would you put them in that order, or how would you go? Now that it's Texas, Georgia, and Florida, would you keep it that way, or would you change it up?
Good question. Interesting question. I don't think I'm not a big fan of Ehlinger. I shouldn't say that. I mean, I don't think he's as good as some other people do. A good kid and a productive kid in many ways, but I don't know that he's a guy that you can just hitch your wagon to and he'll put you on his shoulders and take you home. I just don't see him being that type guy. I do think based on hype and credentials, Georgia has assembled some pretty strong people in there. Even I don't know who. Jamie Newman. I have my doubts about Jamie Newman transferring from Wake Forest. I don't know that much about him. He may end up being an outstanding quarterback, but I don't know that much about him, and I can't put him in a particular classification of quarterbacks. I can Jones at Alabama. I can Trask at Florida. Certainly can at Clemson, but I can't do it with the Georgia people, even though I think J.T. Daniels, the transfer there, was significant. And I think the commitment they have, now here again, this is what I hear, the commitment that they have from this kid, I think his name is Vandegrift, a quarterback in Georgia, state of Georgia. But he may be the next Lawrence coming along, is what I've heard. Yeah. So whether you could, Vandegrift's not there now, he's not in that quarterback room, but he will be. And he's going to be a significant factor on that football team, I would guess. Now, whether it's his freshman year or whether he gets a couple of years to mature in, I don't know, but he's going to be a major, major player. You almost think you got to put him in their quarterback room right now. But anyway, that's a tough one to line up. regardless of what you feel about them, you gotta maybe put Georgia up there. But what about Notre Dame? Notre Dame really, the kid they've got there has played. They've played pretty well. In fact, very well, according to what I have been able to discern from his time there at Notre Dame, and he's got a lot of experience now, and he's a winning quarterback. So I'm not sure what else they have, but I do know they've got a starter who's pretty potent as a quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's the team. Look, Notre Dame being in the ACC this year is going to be interesting, and obviously we all like Clemson to win it, but Notre Dame is always we never know how good Notre Dame is, and so now we're going to see them play in the ACC, which is not the strongest conference, but it's got some pretty good teams, by the way. Teams like North Carolina coming back. Florida State is seemed to be rebounding now. We don't know what Miami is going to look like, but you look at teams like Louisville as well, teams that have played pretty well. So we're going to get to look. We're going to get to see these games. That's awesome. But I will say this, Coach, when we talk about this, I agree with you on Sam Ehlinger. I'm very skeptical. Georgia, with Brock Vandagriff coming in next year, that is going to throw a loop in here. Now, whether he plays immediately, we don't know. Watching film, I can tell you right now the young man can play, and there's a reason that there's a lot of hype with him. JT Daniels is a redshirt sophomore this year. Jamie Newman will be gone after this year. That quarterback room, look, the four guys right now, JT Daniels, Stetson Bennett, Dwan Mathis, and Carson Beck will all be there next year as of right now. We'll see if Brock Vandagriff comes in, if any of those guys want to transfer out. Obviously, that happens when you have a lot of talent like that. But I will say this, with Florida, Emory Jones, a sophomore right there, I don't know if Emory Jones is going to be the man at any point. We know Kyle Trask is a senior. Anthony Richardson is getting a lot of hype in some fall camp right now. This young man, they like the way he throws the football. They like the way that he commands the offense. Obviously, he's a freshman this year, but still, that could be a name right now. I'm just throwing that out there for people to remember. Obviously, Emory Jones is a guy that, look, I think he's a pretty good little gadget player for him when he comes in. I don't know how they're going to utilize him this year, but Anthony Richardson, that's a kid to keep your eye on. Remember that name. So, just throwing that out there for you guys. But, hey, look, we got to go to a quick break, Coach, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the NFC West. When we're talking about teams like the 49ers, the Cardinals, Seahawks, and the Rams, we'll talk about a position breakdown and how we feel it's going to end up this year in the 2020 NFL season. All that and more when we come back right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
There's only one place in town for the lowest prices and greatest selection of firearms. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Visit our fully stocked Gun Pro Shop for new and used firearms, accessories, and ammunition. Check out the Indoor Shooting Range. We offer rentals on guns, including fully automatic machine guns and silencers. Ladies, this is the safe place to learn how to use a gun. Plus, Tuesday is Ladies' Day. Women shoot for half price all day. The best place to buy firearms in Pensacola. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Highway 29 in Car City.
Pennsacola's own NFL Hall of Famer Emmitt Smith has some tips for us during this time.
This fight is up to all of us to try to help bend that curve. It's going to take teamwork. It's going to take us to stay committed, stay focused, and stay dedicated to the mission at hand, and that is to keep everyone safe. So be encouraging. Find some support. Find someone to talk to every day to encourage them to keep on continuing in this fight. And we will beat this pandemic.
Hear ye, hear ye. I bringeth thee a message from... a message from the king and his new trumpeter, Stephen. The king wishes me to convey his favor to thine team and thine tailgate. Not yet. He invites thee to let the Bud Light flow forth. And he also wishes me to tell thee that he toasts thee. Waiteth until the end, Stephen! With game day's favorite light lager and the slogan of his kingdom... Oh! Dilly dilly!
Enjoy responsibly. Bud Light Beer, AB, St. Louis, Missouri.
As a fashion designer, Zoe is always looking for inspiration. In Spain, she stumbled upon the world's greatest tomato fighter. which shaped her new line, and her love for Moe's freshly made seasonal salsas. At Moe's, we know everyone is original, so we offer over 20 fresh ingredients to make burritos and other creations as unique as you. Welcome to Moe's! Find your nearest location at Moe's.com.
This is Davis Allen from Sports Call with Davis and Justin, and you're listening to Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Welcome back to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach Kay Stevenson on this Tuesday afternoon. Appreciate you joining the show. Obviously talking about the NFL, Coach. Now, we talked about the AFC West yesterday. Look, this NFL season is going to be a lot of fun. And at this point, it doesn't matter how it plays out. I think anybody just wants football. That's and look, we're getting positive signs. We've been positive throughout this entire thing, been optimistic. A lot of people, obviously, if you have a different view, that's okay. But we've been optimistic at what's going on, that we were going to get through this, and right now it seems we're on our way to get to that point. But, Coach, talking about the obviously the NFC West, this is a exciting division and actually has some more depth to it this year with the Arizona Cardinals adding some depth there when you talk about the draft. When you talk about the LA Rams, they were a little bit of a disappointment last year. What are they going to look like? Is Jared Goff going to bounce back? The Seahawks, they're always going to be a pain in the side to anybody. And then you look at what the 49ers have built and what they did last year, being up 10 points in the fourth quarter and losing to the Kansas City Chiefs. Thought it was going to happen, and it didn't happen, but nonetheless, they pretty much bring a lot of the same team they had back. So when we look at this, Coach, I want to start off with the quarterbacks. Obviously, when you're talking about the 49ers, you're talking about a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo. The Seattle Seahawks, Russell Wilson, we know how great he is. The Rams, like I just mentioned, Jared Goff has been a guy that, look, he burst onto the scene and then he kind of fell off. Arizona Cardinals, Kyler Murray, I'm skeptical, but he's performed pretty well with a team that, well, when you look at the talent around him, they really upped it this year, but it's the defense that scares you with the Cardinals. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. But, Coach, when you look at this, the quarterback situation here, who you got as the best in the league? Are you going Jimmy G? Or are you going Russell Wilson? Or are you going to pull a wild card and pull a Jared Goff on me?
Well, I think just looking at what they've achieved, each one of them, and know something about their talent and what they look like to me operating as quarterbacks and what I've talked to other people about. But it's hard to not put Russell Wilson at the top of that list because of what he's contributed to that football team. Now, he is a kid who's questionable size, all of that. But he's a great athlete, and he has a lot of the quarterback skills that you're looking for. Gets the ball into tight spaces. Anticipation is outstanding. And, of course, the big thing with him is the impromptu play, making the play outside the pocket when protection breaks down or he has to move. And so I think he's a guy who's pretty much carried that Seattle football team as they've had quite a bit of attrition over the years. And he's hung in there and just done an outstanding job. I don't think he's had the greatest receiver talent around him, and maybe he's had some protection problems, but he can avoid the protection problems and has just made big plays. So I would have to give him the edge there. Next would be Garoppolo. I like Jimmy Garoppolo. I think listen, when you look at what he's been thrust into, every time he wins, whether it's New England or San Francisco, when he's in the ball game, you've got a winning quarterback on the field, even to the extent that San Francisco went to the Super Bowl last year and probably should have won it. I put more blame on their defense than I do some overthrown pass that people want to to bang him on. But I like Garoppolo. I think he's an outstanding student. I like his release. I think he's got a nice firm pass, and he can make all the throws, the deep outside, as well as the shorter throws with some touch. Good football savvy about him. He seems to thrive in the football game. So I like Garoppolo. Next, I'll tell you, they've all got talent and ability. Next, I would have to go, I guess, with just overall ability and what he did as a rookie. I almost have to go with Arizona, Tyler Murray, but Goff is going to have to make a serious comeback this year. He did not have a good year last year, and he was not the type quarterback that could put him on his shoulder and lead him like a number of other quarterbacks could have and have done in the past. I think he's a programmed type mechanical quarterback who has to have a lot of things going for him to be that outstanding quarterback. Now, he's got a good arm, make all the throws, but the protection has to be there, the running game has to be there, and people have to make some plays on their own downfield. So I'd almost put him, believe it or not, I'd almost have to put him at the bottom of that division.
Yeah, and that's understandable because you're right. Look, he's got to step up, and it's the same thing with Kyler Murray. We look at what Kyler Murray did last year, and look, it was actually pretty good. And here's the thing, though: we've seen rookie quarterbacks burst onto the scene, and that second year they come back, and whether it's film or whatever it is, jumping out there. I don't know, but I will say this with the Cardinals, and we'll talk about it, the talent that they're putting around Kyler Murray. Now, that defense is going to be a little skeptical, but the talent they're putting around him offensively is awesome. They're trying to build around him. They believe in him, and hey, he looked good last year. So I agree with you, though, Coach. Russell Wilson is a guy that it's hard to go against Russell Wilson, and he has just been consistent. He has battled and battled and battled. He has played through injuries and things like that, and he's not always had the greatest help, especially on that offensive line, but they always find a way to find their way into the playoffs somehow, some way. And once they get in the playoffs, they're dangerous. They really are. But I agree. Look, I like Jimmy Garoppolo as well. But, Coach, when you look at this, the running back situation, obviously it's pretty interesting. Look, the 49ers did it with a bunch of different guys. Now, this year, obviously, Raheem Mostert, Tevin Coleman, Jerick McKinnon, those guys back there, Jeff Wilson. It's funny because they went with about 4 running backs last year. And so, look, that works for some teams. Other teams like to go with a bell cow like a Derrick Henry. But when you look at this, Coach, Chris Carson and Carlos Hyde are now over there with the Seahawks. Look, Todd Gurley is gone from the Rams, so now you can insert Malcolm Brown, Darrell Henderson. They did draft Cam Akers, which I like Cam Akers a lot. I wouldn't be surprised if he ekes his way on up that depth chart. He's a third string now. But then you look at the running back situation. Well, in Arizona, Kenyon Drake. They traded him last year. Of course, he came from Miami, where Miami he didn't do anything. And then all of a sudden now he's getting 20 carries a game with Arizona, and he bursts onto the scene. They also have Chase Edmonds, who's good. Eno Benjamin, they got him out of Arizona State this year. Coach, this is a toss-up because we all know, obviously, when you look at backfields, you can have that star player, but that doesn't mean you're going to perform. I mean, the Rams had Todd Gurley. He battled through injuries. Now he's with the Falcons. This, to me, is a tremendous toss-up. I will say this. I am going to go with the 49ers in that running back situation because you got 4 guys that are all, to me, equal. They can all go out there and play because they proved it last year outside of maybe 1 or 2 guys that you're kind of betting on. But if I had to go, I'd go to the 49ers and then the Cardinals number 2.
Well, I'd go with the 49ers number 1 for a couple of reasons. One, they have a coach who does an outstanding job of game planning their running game. He's committed to the running game, and they do an awful lot with it that keeps you off balance. And off that, they play action pass a lot. So I really think that San Francisco overall, when you say what is the best running back room, I think you have to include their coach and put him in there as well.
That's a great point.
Responsible for a lot of their success. I think you got to go with San Francisco. Now, it's just a toss-up down the road. I think the Rams are capable of having. I like Cam Akers, and I know he's not the starter right now. I think he's going to play a lot during the year because I think he'll demand it just by his presence and his play on the field. But almost got to go with the Rams, number 2, maybe the Cardinals at number 3. And Seattle, I really don't think they have an outstanding running back or running back presence in the game. Most of that pressure goes on Russell Wilson. I think if they ever did have a real strong running attack, which they did at one time with the Wildman down there, but I don't like Seattle as much as the others.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. It's that situation, by the way, those guys have been injured, and have run into injury problems left and right. Carlos Hyde coming over from Houston, I'm not a big believer in that because, look, I saw what he did with Houston, and, sometimes it's hit or miss. But, look, it is what it is, and that division is interesting enough at that running back. But I will say, like I said, the 49ers, 4 running backs that are pretty much equal. They can all play in every down. I mean, it doesn't matter. We saw that last year, and that was, look, depth will lead you to a Super Bowl, and that's look, the 49ers had a lot of that. Even though they didn't have the star player names that some of these other guys did, they got it done. So, look, we're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, we'll finish talking about this NFC West, as well as Nick Saban and his comments about playing college football this fall. All that and more when we come back right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck, Bentley. That was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
Sometimes your bank, your family, and your friends love you, but they don't have the money to help you. Sometimes we have chances to make money, but the old saying, you've got to have money to make money, rings true. At Pensacola Specialty Pond, we can help. If you have trucks, heavy equipment, airplanes, boats, jet skis, anything with value, Pensacola Specialty Pond can loan you that short-term money you need. No credit checks, and at Pensacola Specialty Pond, you're going to find the money and the discretion you need.
Now at 6428 Pensacola Boulevard, north of Car City. Call 432-9050, 432-9050.
Hurricane season is upon us, and although we aim to bring you the latest news in sports, we're committed to bringing the Pensacola community the latest updates and information during the 2020 hurricane season. In collaboration with our sister stations, News Radio 92.3, AM 1620, and Cat Country 98.7, stay up to date with breaking weather news and updates on the biggest storms impacting Northwest Florida by checking our Facebook pages at Cat Country 98.7, News Radio 92.3, and ESPN Pensacola. The teams, the games, the fans, the local talk. This is ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Welcome back to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach Kay Stevenson. This Tuesday afternoon. Appreciate you joining us here on the show. Final segment goes now. Coach, finishing up with the NFC West, obviously when we're talking about the pass catchers, I won't just say wide receivers, I will throw tight ends into this because the tight end position for a few of these teams was big last year. And look, I will start off with the 49ers. When you look at the tight end position and George Kittle, what he was able to do, now he got that big contract this year, and that's great for him. But now they also added Jordan Reed as a little bit of a depth. Look, Jordan Reed, by the way, has had 6 concussions. I don't know how much of a factor he will be. But look, he's obviously not going to be the starter. We know that, as it was when he was in Washington. But, Coach, when you look at this, they drafted Brandon Ayuk out of Arizona State in the first round. That's a guy that they wanted to be able to use as a burner, but he's also a pretty good wide receiver. Deebo Samuel, look, when you look Kendrick Bourne, look, some of these guys, Coach Dante Pettis hasn't really worked out for him. But once again, I don't know when I look at this, I love the tight end position. I don't know if I love the wide receivers here for the 49ers. Now, when we go to the Seahawks, you obviously got DK Metcalf. That young man, by the way, he's a monster, burst onto the scene last year. Tyler Lockett has always been consistent for him. Now they got Phillip Dorsett out of New England, which it didn't really work out for him. They also drafted Freddie Swain. When you look at the tight end position, they got Greg Olsen. There you go. You get Greg Olsen from Carolina, who technically, he retired for a little bit, I believe. But anyway, the tight end position's always been a toss-up. They also have Will Dissly, Luke Wilson, guys like that. Moving on to the Rams, obviously, look, Coach Brandon Cooks is gone. We know he is now with Houston. But Cooper Kupp is a really good receiver. I think he's a great slot receiver for him. Robert Woods is a guy that hasn't really panned out. He's had his moments, but no consistency there. Josh Reynolds is a young receiver that looked pretty good. And by the way, they have Van Jefferson, the young man they drafted out of Florida. So look out for him. And now gets the interesting team, Coach. This is going to be a lot of fun to watch these teams. But the Arizona Cardinals, Larry Fitzgerald, seems like he's been out there for 50 years. You know what? He just keeps playing, keeps performing. They also got DeAndre Hopkins from Houston in that trade. Christian Kirk is a guy that I love that's kind of under the radar here. And look, Max Williams, the tight end they got from Baltimore. Tight end position is not as prominent in that offense, but who knows as they continue to go along. But, Coach, when you look at this, look, I will say this. The Cardinals, we know what that wide receiver core is going to look like. It's going to be a lot of fun. They performed last year. Now you add DeAndre Hopkins there, a little more weapons. The Rams look good. The Seahawks, yeah, they look better now that they got Greg Olsen at that tight end position if he can stay healthy. My question is, who do you like, and do you think the 49ers have enough weapons at that wide receiving position to be able to repeat this year?
Well, I think the 49ers would look to improve, if at all possible, the receiver position. I hope. They've got to hope that a couple of those young kids come on. I tell you, the Arizona football team, the Cardinals picking up Hopkins was huge. Now, they've got the old man there. My gosh, he's been a wonderful ambassador for the game of football, and certainly for Arizona. He can still do some things in the slot. He can't do the things out wide that you would want a receiver to do, but Hopkins can. And this may take some of the pressure off a slot. I can see them utilizing him more in the slot now and doing all the cute things that the better slot receivers can do. And he doesn't have to be the guy to take the top off. Now, they got a young guy they drafted with a lot of speed. He could end up being out there with Hopkins, and as far as the speed is concerned. So I almost have to take them because of the Hopkins trade. Now I agree. I like the young kid at Seattle that came on Mississippi State. Did a heck of a job. He's going to be a force to contend with in the league. I like what Seattle has done, and I think they've helped Russell Wilson an awful lot. And that should, if it would have helped them to have had an off season to create a better relationship between Russell Wilson and the receivers that are in there now. But they're going to be a team to contend with, I think, from the receiver position. I like what they're doing. 49ers, I hope that their young people would just mention, the young people have to come through for them, JP, to have a good, what would be considered a good or productive receiver core there, and especially in that division. So you got to like pretty much what the Rams had coming back. I think they've got a pretty good crew coming back, and they think they've improved it. So it's going to be interesting to see what comes out on top there.
Yeah, it really is, and you're right. A lot of these young guys are going to have to step up. And remember they got Juwan Jennings out of Tennessee as well. They have some depth, but these guys, Tavon Austin, these are guys that we've talked about before that have had played roles on other teams. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But remember, this is a team that can run the football at will whenever they need to. They're very innovative in what Shanahan does on that offense. That's that we all know about their defense, and that's what I want to talk about right now. Coach, when we look at the defenses of these teams, now we know how dominant San Francisco's defense was last year. This team was unbelievable, what they had built through the draft. They have done such a fantastic job. Eric Armstead, Solomon Thomas. Now they drafted Javon Kinlaw out of South Carolina. You've got Nick Bosa over there, Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw at the linebacker position. Jaquiski Tart in the secondary. I mean, look, the names that you talk about, Witherspoon, all these guys. These are guys that you look at and, I mean, these are Pro Bowl style players. I mean, no doubt when we talk about how good that defense is for San Francisco. Now, on the other hand, when we look at Seattle, they're a little bit inconsistent. They still have Bobby Wagner. I think it's important to have him and KJ Wright at that linebacker position. Shaquille Griffin's been awesome in that secondary. The defensive line has been a little sketchy for them. Look, L.J. Collier and Jerron Reed, those guys have gone through injuries. When you look at L.A. With the Rams, Coach, this is a team that, well, they have Aaron Donald, who everybody believes is the best defensive player. I know he's a beast, but once again, the talent around him hasn't necessarily performed up to par. Guys like Michael Brockers, Ashawn Robinson. This is going to be interesting because here's the problem. When you look at Arizona, this is probably the biggest weakness. Now, the defense was porous, but they've gotten a little bit better. They've gotten a little bit older. They had a lot of young guys playing. Patrick Peterson is still back there in the secondary. Seems like he's been around forever. Buda Baker, the free safety, he just got a 4-year, $59 million deal. They did draft Isaiah Simmons, which, by the way, Coach, we were talking about him before the draft. That young man is just a special, outstanding player they got out of Clemson that can play multiple positions. He can do whatever you need him to do. But, Coach, when you look at this, I mean, is San Francisco still reign on defense? And then when you look at the other teams here, I mean, are the Cardinals going to be able to get enough defense out of this? Did they improve enough in the offseason to be able to make a playoff run possibly? You there, Coach?
I'm sorry. San Francisco is by far the better defense, both from a talent standpoint, a coordinated group of guys who have played together and been very successful. They do a good job of coaching them. They're just well situated defensively. I think the Cardinals are going to be better defensively. I really do. I think Simmons is going to add another dimension. Unless I'm totally wrong, I really think he's going to add another dimension to that defense. And I think they will be better. They'll improve. Whether it's to the extent that they're going to be a better NFL defense, one that would catapult them into the playoffs, it's certainly a lot to ask that they have to do it all defensively. I don't think they're going to be able to do that, but they should be a much better defense. The L.A. Rams with Donald, my goodness, he can just completely dominate a football game. One guy from inside, very unusual, but he is that guy. So I think that the Rams were disappointing. last year, but I think they got to do a better job this year. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and say that they will. Like Seattle has always been able to muster somewhat of a defense,
Right.
Maybe not the great days of their defense up there, but they'll be able to put something together defensively. But San Francisco is the class of the division.
Yeah, absolutely, no doubt about it. And that defense alone will get them to the playoffs. Going to be, like you said, look, the fact that you have a defense like that gives your young guys a chance to find their way in the NFL in that offense. But in order for them to take that next step and go back to the Super Bowl, they're going to have to get a lot out of them. But, hey, look, Coach, that sound means it's time for us to go as usual. We didn't get to everything, so you know what? We'll give it our best shot tomorrow, but it's been an absolute pleasure, Coach.
You bet. Look forward to tomorrow, JP.
Absolutely, Coach. Have a great one. And to our listeners out there, appreciate you guys joining us. Have a safe day out there. Remember, we'll be back same time tomorrow talking some football with you right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
ESPN News, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80. I have to wait till Raj stops playing with the screen. And on your smart speaker. Presented by Progressive Insurance, all guests appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Reach us at 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. But first, it's time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. I tried to tell people, don't sweat the Blazers. I mean, look, coming in, Lillard was on fire. And after game one, I was like, whoa. But I never thought it was going to go 7 games. I figured 6 games, and now I don't figure that either. And maybe if Lillard was healthy, maybe it goes 6, but maybe not. And how great was it last night? Will they ever play basketball at an NBA level in August again in our lifetimes? I mean, I suppose with COVID, it could happen this upcoming season again, right? But the point is, if 8/24 is Kobe Bryant Day, this might have been it. Right? It's like a comet that comes along every 100 years. This was the chance to honor Kobe. The first chance the Lakers got. And it was a meaningful game. Big difference between 2-2, 3-1, obviously. And on 8/24, at one point, the score was 24-8 Lakers. And they wound up winning the game. Now, the numerology is obviously meaningless, except that like LeBron noticed it after the game. It's those things are meaningful. The tribute to Kobe was meaningful for the players, and what a great way to honor him. Come out and just and don't let up. Come out, put it on him and don't let up on 8/24 to take a commanding 3-1 lead. And LeBron went for 30 and 10 in 3 quarters. Everyone was getting in on the act. I mean, the three-point shooters were starting to knock down shots. Look, I don't like the Lakers to win the whole thing this year anyway, because I'm still with the Clippers. And, unfortunately for me, because no matter what your rooting interests are, if you're doing it on TV or radio, you start to root, or if you're right, you start to root for your prediction because you want to seem smart. I say I told you so. But unfortunately for me and my predictions, I picked the Clippers to go all the way. But Dallas was my sleeper pick. So one of them's getting bumped off right now. But either way, I don't like the thing about a team like the Lakers. When you move mountains to bring in AD, a player like that, the cupboard is bare after that. So, Kyle Kuzma's got to be our 3rd leading scorer. Okay. He has not shown in his career that he can do that on a good team. Not consistently. And they had all that money saved for Kawhi. And then Kawhi signs with the Clippers. And now all of a sudden it's like, okay, who's left? Okay, well, let's bring in Danny Green. And they didn't do a bad job considering who was left at the time and available. And filling out the roster. But I don't think it's going to be this year for them. But it ain't going to be this year for the Blazers either, particularly with a hobbled Damian Lillard. Almost called him Stoudemire. Damian Lillard. Here's Frank Vogel after the game.
Keep our foot on the gas. That's what he would do. In this situation, up 2-1, knowing that this team's got a lot of firepower, we just keep our foot on the gas. We got to stay after it. We know the firepower that this team has, and we got to make sure we continue to limit those guys. Got to keep them off the free throw line. Foul too much toward the end of the quarter there.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's right. That's how, on Mamba Day, that's how, the thing about Mamba, Kobe Bryant gave himself that nickname. The original Black Mamba was Roger Mayweather, Floyd's uncle, who was a junior lightweight champ and later a junior welterweight champ, lost a couple fights to Julio Cesar Chavez. Second one much more competitively than the first. But he was called the Black Mamba. And as I recall, others gave him that name. Kobe gave himself the name that he wanted to kind of reflect the mentality, and it took off. Mamba Day. I got to tell you, even though it was a great way to honor his legacy and all that, it's emotional. It's sad for me watching and thinking about it. You want to celebrate Kobe, but there are some people who are so full of life and so conscious that it's hard to imagine that consciousness is now gone forever, and especially in an eye blink like that. It was devastating. I started to talk about it a little bit yesterday, and I'm gonna get on to basketball. I'm gonna take calls and all that. We got guests lined up, Kendrick Perkins. We got all kinds of stuff going on today, but I started getting into this. When you think of high profile and tragic early passings of celebrities. In sports, for me, that was Thurman Munson when I was a little kid, the captain of the Yankees and the catcher and the all-star and, the number 3 hitter in the lineup and, all that. The clutch guy. Thurman Munson, even though I was a little kid, but he was starting to slow down in his career. And for Yankees fans, he was huge. But nationally, he wasn't what Kobe Bryant was, or internationally even. And it wasn't like you got, Thurman Munson was